Allen's Native Ventures. Early spring wildflowers at Allen Acres.
This is Amsonia rigida. I think there's a tough to separate rigida from Tabernet montana. Common name is blue star, and this one has milky juice in it. One of the few plants around with milky juice, and then it's got these pretty bluish. They vary from this to white. This is Amsonia rigida. I always think of this one as Easter.
Interesting facts. The milky sap makes it undesirable to deer and rabbits. It is a pollinator magnet as a source of food for bees and butterflies. While native to swampy, open wetlands, it thrives in typical well-drained garden soil.
Very common Cajun fairy plant is the Baptisia false indigo. There are at least 4 species of this in Louisiana. This is probably the most spectacular. This is Baptisia sphaerocarpa. It has erect racemes of yellow flowers and flowers early. And look right over there, they're darker yellow. So the lot of variation in the color of the petals. The fruits that they make are hard and round. Most of the others are much easier to crack open. You almost need a hammer to crack open the fruits on this to get to the seeds of this Baptisia.
Interesting fact. Baptisia sphaerocarpa foliage was used for dye by Native Americans and settlers. The name Baptisia is derived from the Greek bapto, meaning to dye or to dip.
We now have another Baptisia coming in flowers, usually about 3 weeks to a month later than the yellow ones. You can see the yellow ones around us, but this is the white one. Don't know how well it will show up with the white background, but anyway, the whole plant's kind of bluish. This is Baptisia alba, and I see 1, 2, 3 clumps of it around coming along. It's just getting started flowering. The seed pods on this are not like the sphaerocarpon. These are flattened, somewhat flattened and easy to tear apart. The round ones on the sphaerocarpon, the yellow one, is very hard and very difficult to get open. Here's another one right here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see 5. I can see another one. See the 6. They're just starting. Look, just starting. I see 6 of them out here.
Interesting fact. While Baptisia alba is indicative of the tallgrass prairie, it will also occur in open woodlands and roadsides.
This is a common thistle, Cirsium horridulum. The flowers are usually blue. They can also be yellow in some places in the state. So very interesting plant. Very important plant. I've seen butterflies, I've seen hummingbirds, and I've seen bees visiting the flowers. And of course, it's also edible. It's best to have yourself a big knife or a machete, and you cut off all the stem leaves and you cut it and you eat the stem like celery. So, and then some people have cooked it. Some people do cook the thistle. So it's an important edible plant, especially in South Louisiana.
Interesting facts. Cirsium hirigillum tufts of seeds can be used as fire tinder. Also, the birds use the tufts to build their nests.
The Rigerons, which are called daisy fleabanes, are very, very common early spring flowers. And what you have to realize is this is a member of the sunflower family, which has the white rays on the outside and the yellow disc in the center. This particular one looks to be a Rigeron strigosus, which is very common in the pine lands and a little bit later in the year. So we're almost into April. So I think tomorrow is April. Today's the last day of March. So anyway, this is a Rigeron strigosus. We're trying to find Philadelphicus and tenuous. So we should see at least two more Rigerons here. There are more Rigerons around the state too, but they're all like this. You have to be careful with the fall where you have the Boltonias that are white rays like that come up later in the year, but they have blue streaked leaves.
Interesting fact. Erigeron translates from Greek to early old man, and strigosus translates from Latin to having stiff hairs or bristles which are found on the surfaces of leaves.
This is Erigeron tenuous. There are, on our property, there's basically Philadelphicus strigosus, which we've already done with white flowers. And then there's a smaller one, tenuous, that the ray flowers, out here the ray flowers have a little bit of lavender or bluish color to them. So this is tenuous, a very not really common, but we do have a good bit of it at times of the year, but it's an early spring plant.
Interesting fact. Erigeron tenuous grows from a caudex, which is a shortened, woody base that stores nutrient and water, typical of its short-lived perennial nature.
Very common spring wildflower is geranium. This particular one is Geranium carolinianum. There's another one around here called the sectum, which has much darker flowers. We may find one on our walk, but right now this is carolinianum with the light lavender flowers. Look how the leaves are cut up, but even cut up more in the geranium dissectum, if we can find the geranium dissectum.
Interesting fact. Geranium carolinianum is an annual native to the United States but is invasive in China.
Geranium dissectum. This is a non-native geranium. It looks a heck of a lot like Geranium carolinianum, but this one has the dark flowers, and it comes up a little bit later than carolinianum, and the leaves are cut up just a little bit more than carolinianum.
Interesting fact: the dried flowers of Geranium dissectum is rich in tannin and can be used as a brown dye.
Okay, Herbaceae lehu is a member of the Iridaceae, and it pops up in early to mid-April, and it opens about 9 o'clock in the morning and closes at 2, so you have to catch it between 9 and 2. Very interesting plant. You don't see the leaves. There are some small leaves that are buried down in the other leaves out here of the grass, so it looks like a grass. It's a monocot, obviously, with three petals, but a very interesting plant. We didn't even realize we had it when we first moved here, because we both get up and go to work and leave at 7. We wouldn't see it. But one day we were here one Saturday and couldn't believe how many. They've gotten fewer each year because we don't mow enough. If we were to mow a little bit more, but not mow now, so I have to watch the mowing coming up. That we have to watch to keep this plant around. Herbaceae lehu.
Interesting fact: Herbaceae lehu flowers only last for half a day, and the plant lasts for only 2 to 3 weeks.
This is one of the 2 false dandelions. It's Krigia, and the Krigia comes in 2 or 3 species. This particular one is cespitosa. There's also dandelion and some other species of Krigia. Notice the yellow flowers at the top, much smaller than dandelion, but shaped like dandelion, with ray flowers only. When you think about the sunflower family, most of them have rays and discs. This one has ray flowers only. So very interesting plant. It is edible, very, very small one.
Interesting facts is that its flowers open up only in the morning. Krigia cespitosa is a native plant common in disturbed areas, lawns, and prairies.
Okay, this is another false dandelion. This is Pyropappus carolinianus, and see the yellow flowers look a lot more like dandelion here, but look down the stem. It has leaves on the stem, whereas dandelion would not have leaves on the stem. Dandelion would be scapose with all the leaves basal, but this one has it up and down. So very interesting plant. It is edible too, so it's just like dandelion. Most of the members of the sunflower family are edible.
Interesting facts: the plant is generally considered edible, though it is not a widely cultivated food source, and it is native to the U.S. Pyropappus carolinianus has bright yellow flowers, milky sap, and branched stems that set it apart from the common dandelion. It is a reliable pollinator source that blooms from spring through fall.
is forget-me-not, but it's a native and it has white flowers. So the cultivated ones are non-native and they have blue flowers, but this one is a round. It's also edible. In particular, they recommend for people hiking to eat these seeds, the fruit that you see on here, which would add you a little bit of protein, a little bit of food value if you were out hiking. So Myosotis verna, V-E-R-N-A.
Interesting fact. Myosotis is Greek translated to mouse's ear, referring to the shape of the leaves, and verna is Latin translated to springtime when the plant appears.
This is Lyreleaf sage, Salvia lyrata, one of the most common wildflowers along the roadside in early spring. Very, very, very common. Every now and then, mostly this lavender color you see here, but every now and then there are some white ones. Yeah, we may find a white one as we walk around. So it's a very distinct plant. See here, right down here, the leaves are lyre shaped like an old musical instrument, and often purple, but see if we can find some purple ones, but purple leaves. But Lyreleaf sage, a very, very common wildflower in the spring.
Interesting facts. Salvia lyrata is a tough, shade-tolerant, and mow-resistant native ground cover that attracts pollinators. The exposed lower petal of the flower provides a landing platform for bees.
A member of the mint family called Hill-all, self-hill, is Prunella vulgaris. It comes out about a month later than Salvia lyrata that we had already in here. So Salvia lyrata and Prunella vulgaris are two common mints on allen acres and pretty much everywhere. Everywhere you look, you'll see both of these. Of course, like typical mints, it's got square stems and opposite leaves. And of course, if the leaves are opposite, the branches will be opposite. So notice opposite, everything is two leaves per node.
Interesting fact. Prunella vulgaris is highly pollinator friendly as it attracts bees, butterflies, and wasps. The leaves are edible and can be used in teas, salads, or boiled as a leafy green.
Spongylia marylandica, called Indian pink, one of the few really deep red, a very shade-tolerant plant. If you can plant this in the shade, you will have plenty of it. Very interesting plant.
Interesting fact. Despite being a North American native, Spigelia marylandica is immensely popular in Europe, with one British nursery reportedly selling over 2 million plants.
Blue-eyed grass notice that this has 6 petals, so that makes it a monocot. And this is the genus Cycerinchium. Pretty difficult to get the species, so most of the time, most people just leave it at blue-eyed grass. They vary from blue all the way to white, and there is a native, there is an annual yellow one also, but you kind of think of blue-eyed grass as being blue, and so it's a very, very common wildflower here in the spring.
Interesting facts. The name Cycerinchium is derived from Greek words cis and rhinchos, which translates to pig snout, referring to the tubers of the plant being eaten by pigs. It is not a grass but a member of the iris family.
This is an early spring plant through about May. This is Spiderwort, the genus Tradescantia. On our property here, we have 3 species. This one, Ohioensis. We also have Hirsutaflora, which is shorter and hairier. And then we have a Arenicola in the back that doesn't flower till May, but it's much bigger leaves, much bigger plant. So very interesting spiderworts. There's some and the actual tips are edible for the tips of spiderworts. This Tradescantia, this spiderwort, is our second species. This one is Hirsutaflora. It is shorter and it's covered with hairs. And the one we had earlier, Ohioensis, is taller.
Interesting fact, Tradescantia can act as a natural rooting hormone. The sticky sap found in the stems can be dabbed onto other plant cuttings to encourage or help them root faster.
Chiodenus or Spurgularia. Then there are 2 species, Perfoliata and Biflora. It's very difficult to separate the 2. It's based on a pinhole in the capsule. So even today, I noticed when I went to Bonap for distribution, they lumped them together in 2 varieties or 2 species for that. Very common plant. Notice the leaves, how they're kind of wrapped around the stem on the leaves. Very small leaves, roundish like that. This is an annual that's out here in the winter, early spring, winter to early spring. Named for the very shiny seeds, hence the name Venus Looking Glass.
Interesting fact, Triodanus produces small, hidden flowers that never open. Instead, they produce seeds internally, allowing the plant to self-fertilize.
This is Texas vervain, Verbena halei, a native, pretty common in disturbed areas or kind of open areas, especially along the road here on Allen Acres. The flowers are never really very photogenic. They're often so scattered out that you really don't get a good picture of it. I have never seen any pollinators, but I'm pretty sure that it is pollinated by some of our bees or wasps or butterflies.
Interesting facts. Verbena halei is a native perennial that is drought resistant, low maintenance, blooms from spring to fall, and pollinator friendly.